The most powerful moment in my journey to Islam would be I began to ask her questions and she always answered them. The more questions I asked, the more things started making sense to me. The most powerful moment in my journey to Islam would be when I finally took my Shahada. I had waited to do it for basically 5 years, and finally doing it was just the happiest moment in my entire life. So the story started way back in 2014 when I was just 13 years old. I was living in Brooklyn, New York with my mother at the time, while my 2 younger sisters were living with our dad in New Jersey. I have one cousin who is a Muslim and lived near us at that time. I hadn't met her at all until I moved to Brooklyn with my mother though. When I met her, I would always see her wearing hijab, and I did not have any idea what it was for. So one day I decided to ask her, and that's when she told me that she wears it because she is a Muslim. I did not know anything about that, so decided to ask her to teach me about it because I'm always curious about new things. That definitely came in handy in this situation. I began to ask her questions and she always answered them. The more questions I asked, the more things started making sense to me. She was so patient with me and she answered all of my questions so clearly. I started to spend more and more time with her to learn more and more about her religion. I was at her house at any given time that I had the opportunity to be. It seemed to me that the more I learned about it, the more I fell in love with it. It just seemed like such a proper religion to me. Little did I know that I would soon come to realize that it is the proper religion to follow. I moved away from New York shortly after I started to learn about Islam and lived with my father, sisters, and my stepmother at that time. My stepmother was and still is a very strict Pentecostal Christian though. So when she found out that I had been learning about Islam and considering reverting in the future, she wasn't happy in the slightest. So I decided that I would never talk to her about it again. However, the thing is, neither of my parents are very religious. So I never followed any religion growing up until I met my stepmother. So her religion had become mine. But when I started to learn about Islam, I was starting to think that maybe Christianity did not make as much sense as I thought it did. I did not dare to tell her that though. Throughout the time that my dad and her had been married, she was in and out of my life. She would always argue with my dad. They would separate for a short period of time and then they would end up back together again. Everything would always be fine until they started arguing again and the cycle continued. So every time she was around, I put up this act so that I could hide what I was subconsciously feeling. That is until about 2017 to 2018 when she left my life for good and I moved to a different state with my dad and my sisters. This was when I officially decided that I was going to learn as much as I could about Islam and that I was going to officially take my Shahada on my 18th birthday. When I spoke to my mother about it, that's what she said she wanted me to do. So that's what I did. I learned more about Islam and waited until my 18th birthday, that is June 21st, 2019. I had spoken to my cousin the day before and arranged that I would take my Shahada over the phone with her, along with a few family members and friends of hers who were also there to listen. So on my 18th birthday, that's what happened. I called her and I took my Shahada over the phone with her. That day was the best day of my life, and taking my Shahada was the best decision that I have ever made for myself. 4 months later, I still have a lot to learn, but I still couldn't be happier with my decision. Islam has already taught me so much. Islam taught me how to interact with people, that I have to be respectful not only to my parents but to everyone around me, not to backbite people or spread rumors about people, to be kind to people, to be aware of the needy, and to give them whatever I'm able to give them, that I'm worth more than I ever thought I was, and that there is a purpose in this life, that the purpose is to love and obey Allah. and to strive for success and reward in the hereafter. Allah guides whom He wills, and I'm so happy that He chose to guide me. I might have a long way to go in perfecting my Islam to the best of my ability, but I know I'm going somewhere. I'm grateful that He has been so patient and so lenient with me, because it all led to me making the best decision that I could ever make for myself in my entire life. And inshallah, I will only progress further and further in my journey back to Allah. And by the way, there's one thing that I can thank my stepmother for. Despite everything, in the end, she is the reason why ever since I met her, I had not a single doubt in my heart that God existed. It was just a matter of, well, I know God is real, and I know that He created me and He wouldn't just leave me with nothing. So which religion is the right one? And Alhamdulillah, I'm happy to say that I finally found it. It took me 5 years, but I'm finally here.